Good afternoon, folks. Hope you're all doing really well. In today's video, I'm just going to show you how I am planning ahead for the upcoming European season, which is less than a month away. The last 4 to 6 weeks, I have invested heavily into this platform and I've bought a lot of players, especially in the limiteds. And I've got to the stage now where I'm going through my gallery and thinking, where does this guy fit into my teams next year? So, being the nerd I am, I've created a simple spreadsheet so I can pinpoint exactly where I see that player fitting into my teams next season. In today's episode, I'm going to concentrate on the limited under 23s. And other than threshold teams, because they will be always what I prioritise, other than the threshold teams, the under 23 would be the next priority that I look at. Because prices have fallen, it's given me the opportunity to do so. And the reason I say that I would prioritise it over other leagues is purely because you win an under 23 player should you win a reward. And more often than not, can't get my words out. The under 23 players are the most valuable on the platform. And that is purely down to that they'll have more utility than obviously a 28, 29-year-old. So just going over to the spreadsheet, the reason I'm doing this, a spreadsheet, is purely it's a lot easier to pinpoint players straight away rather than having to go through pages and pages of your gallery. And I can see at a glance where my weaknesses are within this setup. And as you can clearly see, I've only got two backup midfielders, so maybe I possibly want one or two more. Again, you will go through the list and you will see none of them would be classed as elite under 23 players. They certainly aren't at the moment. However, you can also see I've got a column here where the under 23 eligibility will come to an end. Some of these players have still got 5 years. So the hope is within that time, they do become an under 23 elite player because you either make good money by selling him or you've got an even better chance of winning good rewards because you've obviously got the best players. So I'm going to run through my team, providing they're all fit, there's no injuries, no one's left clubs, because there are a few anomalies on here. For example, those Coventry boys, the defenders, I believe one or two were on loan, so I don't know whether they've gone back to their parents' clubs. I haven't looked into it at this moment in time because I simply haven't had the time. However, I will do before the season starts. But if the season was starting tomorrow, that would be my team that I would put out. And these would be the backup players. However, I would obviously consider the difficulty of the fixture these players have got. And then I might rotate one or two out for other players who've got, on paper, an easier fixture. Now, the keeper I would start with is Fruchtel, who plays for Austria Vienna. He's the ex-Bayern Munich backup keeper to Neuer. In my opinion, he's an absolute guaranteed starter, if there's such a thing. He's going to be the number one keeper at Vienna, in my opinion. So I've got no doubts whatsoever with him. His last 15 is 44. He's eligible until the end of next season to be an under 23 player. He doesn't play for the greatest side in Austria. However, the Austrian league, when they've played a certain amount of games, like in the SPL, it splits to a top and bottom half. More often than not, Austria Vienna will be in the top half. So they're certainly not a struggling Austrian side. And it's against the weaker teams that this boy could perhaps keep a few clean sheets. And that is ultimately what you want from your goalie. My backup goalkeeper is Roman from Mallorca. He represented the under 23s in that competition for Spain in the week. He came on at half time. The only thing he'd done was give a bloody penalty away. But I've read that he has joined Real Oviedo on loan. He's currently or recently signed a new contract with Mallorca till 2026. So I believe the intentions are they've sent him out on loan to get first team football. If that is the case, that'll be fantastic for me. So that's why I put him in my list of players that will probably play, and he's obviously the backup, um, just in case anything was to happen to Fractal, or I don't want to play Fractal when they're playing away to Red Bull Salzburg, for example. So I hope Roman does go to Oviedo and become the number one keeper. For my defender, Pavlovic for Red Bull Salzburg. In my opinion, he's a no-brainer. He's got so many positives going for him. He plays for the best team in Austria. They've qualified for the Champions League. Okay, they're going to come a cropper probably against the top teams in Europe, so wouldn't necessarily want to be playing him in those sort of games. He's also a Serbian international. He scores very, very well generally, and that is obviously helped by playing for the best team in your league or in the country. His last 15 is 57, and if you were to buy him today or anyone holds him, they've still got 2 years left of him being an under 23 eligible player. I've got loads of cover for the defenders. Like I said, I generally play two midfielders. However, depending on how the fixtures, there might be times where I play two defenders in that team. But I've got some quality. I believe I've got some quality, even though they're not the elites, under 23 players. I think I've got some decent players there that I would have no problem throwing in on certain game weeks. And some of them have got 2, 3 years of under 23 eligibility. My first midfield selection is Prass from Sturm Graz. Again, last 15 is 57. He scores very, very well, as you can see here. Again, plays for the second best team in Austria. They will also have European football. And he was recently involved with the Austrian international side. He was on the sub bench, he didn't come on, but that's another positive for me. Because, like I keep saying, the more utility you can get with the players, the better. This boy has got a decent assist record. He'll chip in with the odd goal as well. So I've seen him play a couple of times as well, and I like the look of the boy. So another solid selection in my under 23 side, I believe. My second midfielder is Nakamura from Lask. Again, one of the best teams, the third best team in Austria. So they will also have European football. That bloody Mickey Mouse competition that West Ham won, the European Conference League, whatever the hell they're calling it. They will have that next season. So again, utility or extra utility, should I say. This boy is capable of putting in very, very good scores. He's got a tremendous goal record last season. He's represented Japan at under 20s and under 17 level. I believe he was in the last Japanese squad. I don't think he played, but if he can break into that side when the World Cup qualifiers come around, that could give you more utility. And Nakamura, like Prass and Pavlovic, has got utility to be an under 23 player on So Rare for another 2 seasons. I could argue that I'm a bit weak in the midfield because I've only got two substitutes, if you like. I have got other under 23 eligible midfielders, but I'm not confident to put them on the list because I don't think they're going to be anywhere near regular first team players. So I might look at buying one or two, but I really don't think I need to, in all honesty, because, like I said, I can throw in two defenders rather than two midfielders, which will give me an extra midfielder and just have a play around. But I'll see how it goes. I've got no intentions to at this moment in time. But I say that if I see a bargain, then I can't help myself. I'll end up buying him. So for my forward, I've gone for Adingra. Now, this selection could change because Adingra has played for USG in Belgium last season. He's had a very good season there, but he's actually on loan from Brighton in the English Premier League. I don't think he's anywhere near going to be starting for Brighton in the Premier League anytime soon. So my hope is that they come to some agreement to loan him back there, especially to that club because they've obviously qualified for Europe. And I don't want to harp on, but all this extra utility, trust me, is everything with these players because not does it only give you the opportunity if you own them to put in certain game weeks where there's just internationals or European football. These players will have a price premium put on them purely because of their utility. People on So Rare generally are not stupid. They are aware of these players that have this extra utility. And like I said, you will pay a premium. There was a player with similar stats, goal scoring records as a Dingra, as a striker, but he played for a mid table Belgium side, so there's no European football. He wouldn't be as nowhere near the price of a Dingra is. From the Ivory Coast, I think there's a great opportunity for him to cement a place in the national team. He's been on the fringes, I believe, of the last few squads. It's only a matter of time if he keeps this goal scoring record up that he's going to break in and become a permanent fixture. And yet again, for the umpteenth time, that gives you extra utility. And the last thing on Adingra, he is eligible for another year, so it's an extra 3 years from now that he's still going to be eligible for the under 23s. I don't know whether you've noticed, other than my goalkeeper, all of the outfield players will all be in Europe next year and they will arguably be involved in their international teams. And that's what I've tried to do. The goalkeepers, because of the price, I might change my mind further down the line. But at this moment in time, I'm not prepared to pay that extra premium on a under 23 goalkeeper who's also a regular for their country. There's not many out there, to be perfectly honest, and that's why they're so expensive. The forwards is where my weakness is, in my opinion. My next sub, who's got the best L15, is Kofman. He was playing for Karl Russer or something in the German second division. He's done very well for them, but he's transferred to Union Berlin, or he will have by the time the season kicks off. I'm not convinced he's going to be a starter for Union Berlin. If he is, it's great because they've also qualified for Europe. They're a good side. So, but like I said, I've got doubts whether he's going to be the starter. My next guy is Mustafa of Lask. For me, he's a guaranteed starter, and he does come with the benefits of European football. But I don't know about him, to be honest. There's a few good ones there, but again, they're young. I'm not convinced they're going to be starters, so I might have to look at um, improving it. Can't get my words out. Improving in the forward line. However, I might wait till the start of the season because I don't want to just be buying player after player and ending up having like 20 players because at the end of the day, you can only use five in your team. And I don't want players just sitting in my gallery doing absolutely nothing, which will probably be the case because there's 217. I know there's lots of competitions now, which I'll try and enter as many as I possibly can, but that's still going to mean there's going to be some good, decent players that are not getting involved in any of my teams. Um, but obviously, you need extra cover for injury, suspensions, so it's a balancing act. But I think I'm done with buying for the time being, certainly on limiteds. So I'll just see how we go. So that's it, really. I just wanted to give you some idea on how I do my planning, etc. I just want to give a word of warning. If anyone's looking and thinking, yeah, I like that, if you're going to be looking at Austrian players, please remember their winter break seems to go on for fucking about 2.5, 3 months. So if you are only concentrating on the under 23s, for example, there will be a time and a long period of time over the winter where if that is your only team, you won't be able to use them because of the winter break. It's a pain in the ass. So this is another reason why I try to buy and have cover in other leagues. I'm going to try in the first week or the first uh, season or the first league back is the Belgium League on the 28th of July, I believe, that weekend. So I'm going to try and I don't know what I'm going to do with a goalie. I've got four outfield players that I could do with the Belgium teams. So I might look, see if there's an under 23 Belgian keeper because I'd like to get involved with the under 23s as soon as I possibly can. Because, like I said, in my opinion, other than the threshold teams, they're the best value for money for me. Anyway, guys, I hope some of you find this video useful. I'm sorry it's gone on for so long. Can't Once I start, I can't stop talking. But I will now, I promise. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you very soon. Cheers.